Thank you guys for joining me. I'm really excited. This market is insanity. It's like nothing I've ever experienced. I've been selling real estate since 2005. How many have been selling real estate since 2005? How about 10 years? Have you been in the business for 10 years? All right. A few of you. How about 5 years or less right now? Okay. All right. So we're going to get started. And I'm going to do the best I can at getting this done. So this is an iceberg. If you guys have never seen an iceberg, the top part, hold on here. I got to meet somebody. All right. The top part is what we're going to cover today in 1 hour. All this on the bottom is the full course that I teach for buyers, 13 plus hours of training. Okay. So bear with me as I try to get you the most information possible and this little peek of information as we go forward. Okay. Because I can't get it all to you, there are going to be bonus materials that you're going to get afterwards. So you want to go back to the person who invited you and they're going to have bonus materials. Anytime you see this little bonus icon, know that there's extra materials for you guys to get from that person that invited you. That could be me, it could be Kelly, it could be, anybody that may have invited you. So let's get going, guys. All right, so in the chat, what I'm looking for you guys to do, and I'm gonna admit a couple people while we do it. In the chat, what I'd like to know is, what do you need the most help with regarding buyers? Is it writing offers, help with buyer consultations? What are buyer consultations? Is it making sure you get paid? What are the things that you need the most help with? If you can just pop those in the chat, we're going to kind of circle back to those and we'll know if we need to add more content later or more information for you guys, okay? So while you're doing that, let me just share and keep letting people in that I have been selling real estate for, I think, 16 or 17 years. I'm losing track. And over time, I have a small team in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I actively sell, which I think is so important for you guys to understand, that you're learning from somebody today that is literally working on the market, in the market, is buying and selling, is failing, is succeeding, all of those things just like you, okay? So I am seeing what you're seeing. My buyer's agent and we sell about 40 to 50 houses a year, every year. That's around 12 million in real estate. And we've been in the business for, I think, 16 years, partners for like 8 or 9 years. And, we put together a program that really works for buyers and getting offers accepted and making sure things work. So let's keep rolling. Oh, I wrote a book. So hopefully you consider me an authority on this information so I can keep going forward. Speaking of which, this is my buyer's agent, Jenny Van Kirk. And she was a real estate agent for around 8 years before she met me and joined our team. And here's why I'm telling you this, because when she came to me, she was making around $40,000 a year and she wanted to make more. And so she joined my team. I put everything I'm going to show you in the first section, the 3 keys. I required that of her and of all of our buyers in the beginning. Okay. It was uncomfortable. It took some effort. It was a lot of saying no in the beginning. However, when she did it and she put it into place, the first year with our team, she doubled her income. The second year, she did 40,000 more, right? By saying no and by setting standards and by cleaning up the buyer business, okay? So she loves to say that by doing this process and by having these rules, it helps her make more money, have less stress, and work with buyers she likes, right? Who doesn't want to work with buyers they like instead of jerks? I mean, that happens all the time. So, all right, let's do the next slide. Okay, so today we are going to talk about the 3 keys to buyer loyalty. Then we're going to do some tips for winning offers and ways to find off-market properties, okay? This is the buyer process that we take our buyers through. This is the process that people that take the Ultimate Buyer Loyalty Process course will take their buyers through and they learn. But today we're going to hit on these top 3 red items and we're going to go right into those. So in the chat, if you don't mind, go ahead and type in the number of active buyers you're currently working with today. Those people that are actively looking to buy property. Just put a number in there, whatever it is. Let us know what you're actively working with. Oh my God, somebody's working with 20 to 25 buyers. Jeez, oh Pete's. Okay. All right. All right. So 3 keys to buyer loyalty. We're going to go over these 3 keys right now. The first thing is get pre-approved, right? Nobody should be in a car. Nobody should be out looking at property unless they're pre-approved, especially in this market. Every offer has to have a pre-approval with it, right? How many times have you ever showed property without knowing if somebody was pre-approved or thinking they'll be fine and then ends up they're in the wrong price point, or they didn't accurately understand how they get paid and maybe they're on commission and that doesn't work for a loan right now. So those are the things that, you know, help us in getting pre-approved. What we require or what I recommend to you in this category of pre-approval is that you use a local lender only. Anybody ever had a nightmare with Quicken or Rocket or whatever? Like, local lender only, guys. Guess what? If they also want to do a Quicken, whatever, have them also get one with your local lender. Okay. That's a key thing. You want to find a lender with an outstanding reputation for closing on time. You want that lender to be well known among other agents, because if we can make sure that the agent knows the quality and the reputation of the lender, it is more highly likely that that offer will be accepted because of the reputation of the lender. We want a lender that is a great communicator for all parties, including the other side of the transaction, that will answer phone calls, that will answer questions, and will communicate with people, right? How many people have ever had a lender that you just keep calling and nobody ever gets back to you or answers your questions or whatever? They'll only talk to the other side of the transaction. And all you're trying to do is find out what title company it is, right? So you need somebody that's willing to communicate. My lender recently told me that the average days to close right now is around 45. So 30 or less is key in this market. If it's taking 45, I feel like it's going to be too long and maybe is not the best offer if you are presenting a pre-approval of more than 30 days to close. Right now, the other thing that we're doing is maybe you guys used to back 2 or 3 years ago, you used to only put what your buyer was comfortable paying on the pre-approval letter. So now what we're doing is we're saying we want to put the buyer's max on our pre-approval letter, because, for example, if we've got a $300,000 property that our buyer wants to buy and we write a pre-approval letter for $300,000, the listing agent might be like, oh, can they only go to 300 or can they actually go higher? So right now, instead of inviting that call and that extra step from that listing agent that they don't have time to make, go ahead and put the maximum that your buyer can qualify for. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to go that high, but it saves time and it makes your offer just a little bit more informative when you do have that maximum loan amount on there. Also, we require, or we ask in our listing package and for our buyers, that the letters say that their income and credit have been verified on the letter. That's just one more thing that makes that offer more solid in the eyes of the listing agent, that they don't have to call and say, hey, has the income and credit been verified? It's right there in the letter. And then also, this is something that we've always had as a rule, but no shopping once we're under contract. If you want to shop your rates, if you want to shop your loan, that all happens before we put the offer in writing, okay? Once you've got that, because that is the expectation of the listing agent, the lender, the loan, all of that is already in there. So here's a little image. We do have a video that we'll follow up with on more financing information if you guys want to dig a little bit more into the financing part of the rules. So in the past, I've always said, use the local lender that we recommend because they have a reputation with us and they have proven themselves with us. Because have you ever had somebody use another random lender that you did not recommend and all their stuff ends up in a U-Haul parked in a parking lot somewhere over a weekend because it didn't close on time, because you didn't have the right lender, because they didn't do something, they didn't get the HOA docs and, you know, all of that. Like, so thanks for liking my picture. Here's another one. What else happens when you choose a bad lender? Okay. It used to be you would get the house, but you'd end up in a U-Haul. This time, you're going to be in your grandma's basement for a really long time. That was a very popular couch pattern if you have never seen that before. I feel like this is a very accurate picture that I Googled of your grandma's basement. Whoever's getting tired of being in their grandma's basement, gonna move on to our lender, right? We're gonna get them cleaned up and ready to make a solid offer with a great lender. Moving on, buyer consultation. I have learned that not many people do buyer consultations. And I think that this is the biggest mistake that you can make as an agent, because buyer consultations happen at the beginning of the transaction, and they literally set the expectation for what it's going to be like to buy a property in this market from the beginning. Okay, from the beginning. So what these buyer consultations allow us to do is share stories about our clients' experiences. They allow us to set the stage for what they're about to experience. And especially in this market, when we have to talk about crazy things like appraisal gaps and escalation clauses and, you know, inspections, this is the time when we go through that and we do that discussion so that they're hearing hard things before things are emotional. Because what happens is when your buyer finally finds that house that they want to make an offer on, emotions are high, right? They're excited. They might be crying. They're like, woo, everything's going crazy, like insane. And when you tell them something in that mental state, they will not hear it. They will not hear it. That is not the time to talk about an appraisal gap or, you know, a rent back or whatever. You have to do that in advance. And when you do it in advance, they're in a better state to receive it. Okay. And then when you tell it to them while they're getting ready to write the offer, they've at least heard it before, right? And they're prepared. So that's what this is about, is just laying the groundwork in the beginning before we begin that crazy process. You know, we are just coming out of COVID. I hope that it's over. I don't know. But I can tell you that the most effective buyer consultation sessions happen face-to-face. Thankfully, Starbucks is now allowing people to sit inside the cafes. So this can happen face-to-face at a Starbucks or at a Panera or wherever. I recommend you not do this in a house that you're showing, especially right now, because it's chaos during showings. Also, the buyer consultation allows you to show your value, allows you to share how you're going to help them and what you're going to do to get them to succeed in a purchase. So it sets the stage for you to show your value and to then ask them for their loyalty to hire you when it's time to make that next step. And finally, what I'll share with you is this market is not for everyone. This market is not for everyone. So you may have 10, 15 buyers. I'm going to tell you that 5 to 7 of them aren't going to make it. It's not for everybody. They don't have the stomach to do what it takes in this market, or it's going to take them so long that now they've priced themselves out of a reasonable property because the values keep going up or the rates keep going up. Okay. So I can tell you that just like, for example, in 2020, when the pandemic hit, my buyer's agent, Jenny, and I, we had some conversations with our clients and we said, hey, it's going to be a little rough for a while. You're going to have to buy a house without actually seeing it. It's going to have to be on a video tour. You're not going to be able to come in and look at it. Are you okay with that? Some people were, some people weren't. And with the ones that weren't okay with that, we put them on pause. It's important to be honest with people up front and tell them, you know, yes, your expectations are reasonable, or right now, we cannot make that happen. And the more honest you are with people up front about telling them that, they appreciate it. Every single paused buyer we had during the pandemic in 2020 ended up buying a house with us in 2020. It was the second half of 2020, but they appreciated us setting the stage for them and they opted out, right? Or they opted to pause. So having real conversations with people and being honest with them is the name of the game in this business, because what you don't want is for a bunch of people to be looking and thinking they're buying, and you're taking up all this time with them and you're not putting your time with the people that actually can and are motivated. So that's where this kind of helps us size up how serious they are, and it lets them know, like, all the crazy stuff we're talking about, it's really real, and we're going to tell you that today, and you're going to decide if you want to be a part of that or not a part of that. All right. So this is the buyer's counseling session that we take everyone through. And remember how I told you I have a whole course of 13 plus hours of training? This is something that we go through in the whole course. But what I'm going to do today is, as a bonus item, I'm going to give you the agenda that we use in the meeting. The agenda helps us keep moving through the process and make sure that we hit on all the key topics that we want to bring up with the buyer before we make it to the next step. Okay, so you will get this as well in the bonus information. So the third key to creating buyer loyalty is to have your client hire you to be their expert buyer specialist. Okay, so that's the third thing. So we require the pre-approval from our local lender. We require that they sit down with us and do a buyer consultation. And then we require that they hire us to be their agent. When they hire us, they sign what we call a buyer loyalty agreement, or they could sign in your state a buyer agency agreement that commits them to you and you to them. Okay. Once they do this and they do these three things for us, they become VIP status with our team. And they know that they have experience on their side. So, you know, my buyer's agent has about 16 years in the business. I have about 16 years in the business. We work together. We've got a couple of other partners that help us show properties when we need to get in faster. We can't be in two places at the same time. So there's tons of experience and help once they hire us. They become a top priority for showings, right? We don't show houses until they've done these three things, and they know that. And a lot of times they want to know what they can do to become VIP. They literally will ask the question and we let them know, and then they go and do it. It's amazing when you are a leader, when you act as a leader, as a real estate agent, you're a leader, you're leading them to success with buying a house. When you act like a leader and you tell them what it's going to take to get this, they will follow you. If they feel like you know what you're talking about, right? If they feel like you've got a plan, they'll follow you. So that's what this is for. This is once they hire a buyer's agent or us to represent them, we have complete confidentiality regarding their motivations, their need, and their financial situation, right? If a buyer randomly goes to a listing agent and is like, oh my God, I need to buy this house. My kid has to start school tomorrow and blah, 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 blah. I only have $700,000 and I need them to accept this offer at $7. Like, no, you're giving away information to a listing agent. What you need to do is have that freak out moment to me. And I am going to confidentially keep that information, and I'm going to help you massage that into something that we can work with to compete in multiple offers, right? You don't want to show all your cards to everybody in town. You want to show your cards to your buyer's agent that you hire, and they go out and get the best opportunity for you based on your cards that you're holding. When you hire an expert buyer's agent, when you sign that, they are partnering with the best vendors, and that will provide a competitive advantage in multiple offer situation, right? The best inspector, you've got the best inspector, the best lender, the best people that are going to get this moving for them. And you've got connections to those people. So that's what they're getting with this. You can search off market properties if they are committed to you, right? The commitment level of them to you has to be met equally, right? And you will go out and search these off market properties. I always hesitate to put too much emphasis on the off-market properties because I see off-market properties a lot like open houses. They're like something you can do, but they're not always going to bring the deal, right? So don't put too much emphasis on that. As they hire you as a buyer's agent, you will advise them on strategy, including inspections, condition, appraisal, rent back. You're going to tell them what you see that maybe is not good, or that they don't want to hear, because you represent them and their best interest, right? Not somebody else's, or not the listing agents. And they will benefit from the get it done reputation of your team, and your agent peers know that you're going to get the job done. We've got a couple of local agents here on this call today that know that, if they call us or our team, they call Amy or Jenny, that we're going to get the job done and we're going to get to the closing. No question about it. That's reputation. And you've got to keep and protect your reputation in this business. And that's what they're getting when they're hiring you as a buyer's agent. All right. So I have a great video that's a bonus item on standards that talk about standards for buyers and sellers that I will get you after this. But this wraps up the section on the 3 keys to buyer loyalty with the pre-approval, the buyer consultation, and hiring an expert buyer specialist. So my next question in the next chat is, how many of your buyers have completed the 3 keys to buyers loyalty? So in the beginning, you told us how many buyers you have. How many of those buyers have the pre-approval, have sat down with you for a consultation, and have hired you as a buyer's agent? All right. So finishing up my soapbox on doing these first 3 things, I will tell you one of my favorite quotes is, the more value you add, the more valuable you become, right? The more value you add, the more valuable you become. When you show people how important it is to understand this process before they begin, you're adding value to them. And then they feel like they can't do it without you, because you're the one that told them all these things, right? So it's so important. And, doing these 3 things creates that VIP buyer. You can roll out the red carpet, do whatever you want. They understand that they're at the top of your list at that point for getting out for showings and for doing those kinds of things. So what does this do for you? It helps you make more money, right? It eliminates the people that don't want to get approval in advance. It eliminates the people that don't want to sit down and really understand what this process is going to look like, and have you out on 15 or 20 showings before you really understand what they need. It reduces your stress, and it allows you to work with buyers you like, right? Because guess what? Just like them, this is a mutual interview process. If they're assholes, you don't have to work with them. Don't ask them to sign the buyer's agreement, right? You don't need that in your life right now. This is hard enough. But if you don't do an interview or the consultation, you're not going to know that they're jerks before you start. So it's always good to make sure that you're matched up with people. My final slide on this is, these happy buyer leads return the highest investment. They return referrals. They have people talking about how great it is to work with you. And so you're getting referrals. When you give that great service and you have standards, people will be thrilled to tell other people about you, and you'll never need online leads again. Our business is entirely repeat and referral, 40 to 50 homes a year. That's where you want to be. That's where people trust you. That's where people follow your guidance and your counsel. And that's where you'll get the job done the most effective way. All right. Next thing we're going to do is do finding off-market properties. Okay. So like I said before, don't put all your eggs in this basket, but sometimes these work out. And we're going to talk about a little bit about where you can find them. So proactively, guys, in the chat, where did you find your most recent off-market opportunity? Put it in the chat, and then we're going to call some of these out after this next slide. So off-market opportunities aren't for everyone, right? We do not do this for everybody because it is, I call it by hand. We're finding deals by hand. And we only do this for our top 1 to 2 buyers. Okay. Because you can't look for 25 buyers off market properties. You have to choose 1 or 2 and go find those, right? Usually they're homeless, right? Maybe you've sold their house because they had to sell first and now they're buyers. If they're homeless, that will go to the top of the list, right? For finding off-market opportunities. Guess what? They're also the most motivated to actually get something when they don't have a place to live. So that's why you put them at the top of the list, because you have the highest chance of them actually getting an offer accepted. The most motivated, if that's not obvious by the first 2. We only work with, we only find off-market properties for people that can tour it the same day. So if I find an off-market property, you know, today, and somebody messages me, I'll message my partner and I'll say, this is for so-and-so, can she get there today? If, you know, if this particular buyer is not somebody that's even in town, we're not going to look for off-market properties for them. If they take 3 days generally to see a property, guess what? That means they're not motivated enough. So we're not going to look for off-market properties for them. Okay. Not everybody gets this service based on the needs that they have. Also, we need to make sure that they are prepared and ready to make an over asking offer. Not that they necessarily need to do that in an off-market listing, but they need to be in the mindset that they will do what it takes to get the deal done, right? Also, something that I added at the last minute, what we find is that if somebody has already written 1 or 2 or 3 offers and didn't win, they're going to be way more interested in these off-market properties than somebody who's never written a single offer yet. They don't understand how hard it is, and they don't understand what a gem opportunity it is to be able to get in on something before it hits the market. So I would just encourage you guys to think about these criteria before you start looking for off-market properties for people, and make sure that they're serious enough, because when you find one, darn it, you really want to get somebody under contract with it because you've done a lot of work to get them there, right? All right, so here's where we have found our most recent mom groups. I see a lot of you guys are ladies. So mom groups are a great place. They're connecting, they're talking about moving. They're also looking for agents to work with them. They're saying, I just saw a house for sale, or they're saying, I'm moving here and I'm trying to find a house, you know, whatever that may be. You can get a lot of inroads there. Groups on Facebook groups in general, if you've got a community group. Now, keep in mind these groups that are community specific, you know, you have to follow their rules. And a lot of the rules for real estate agents are, unless it's your own home, you cannot post in these groups. But part of what you do and part of what we go over in the whole, like the big course, is kind of how to read through the lines on these and how to look at the comments and then go directly to the people in the comments. While you can't post, there's a lot you can do with information that you find in these groups that you can use for your benefit. Agent ranking report. Okay, this may be something that you guys have never used before. Kelly really liked this when I told her about it. Basically, go into your MLS, and you may need to call the MLS for this. You go into your MLS, and if you're in Cincinnati, I can tell you how to do it, but other places I cannot. Go into your MLS, do a search based on the area that you're moving or you want. So I live in Anderson Township. So you can go into the MLS, search Anderson Township. Then you go like into statistics, and then you do a ranking report based on agents. Okay, so you can rank the agents based on number of transactions or dollar amount. I choose to use number of transactions because I want to know that somebody had 35 listings versus sold $4-5 million properties, right? So then you have a list, and you can search top 25 agents in Anderson Township. If we have a buyer in Anderson Township that's ready to go, I start making calls from the top of the list. Hey, Kelly, this is Amy. I know that you do a lot of listings in Anderson Township. We have a pre-approved buyer. They are ready to write an aggressive offer. Do you have any listings coming that meet their criteria under 700? Like, I do not even say bedrooms, bathrooms. I just focus on price and see what they have, because maybe I can get something for somebody else or, whatever. So that's the phone call. Leave a message, send a text message, follow up, depending on if they're in the middle of multiple offer hell, they're not going to get back to you. But if you catch them at the right time, or you hit them on phone and text, you might find some opportunities there and go down the list. And you are going to learn a lot by who you talk to, who answers their phone, who doesn't, and what they have coming on the market. And you just might be able to find a property for your client. This just basically means call them or text them. And then pocket listings. So let me be very clear about what pocket listings are. Pocket listings are listings that are signed contracts with the MLS. They have signed a listing agreement, and commission for both sides is protected. Okay. Once you have that, you have a pocket listing. And that pocket listing, Kelly has what's that group that you have in Illinois called?
We have the private listing network.
Private listing network. We have a small real estate network in Cincinnati where we share. It's called like Buyer Inventory Needs or something like that. And I have done multiple transactions from that, not even actually posting my own, but just reading through other people's and reading through the comments and reaching out to those agents directly and saying, hey, I saw that a month ago you were going to be listing this property. Has it come on the market yet? Or you can use it opposite for listings. If you want to get a buyer before you put it on the market, you can go through these and find opportunities. You can also go in and post all the buyer needs that you have, which I've done. And then they start calling you or messaging you with what they've got, which is great, right? And then sometimes if you type that out, like what I found is a month later, somebody will reach out to me and say, hey, do you still have this buyer? Yeah, unfortunately, we still have that buyer. Do you have something, right? So they're even searching back through to see what is in the comments from previous months or weeks. So it takes a lot of combing and effort, but if you have a very focused property or person in mind, and you go in with just that, I bet you'll find some connections there, or at least a step in the right direction. And then this is an image that I always create. Anytime I have a specific buyer need, I try to create an image that gives the information, that gives the information on what we're looking for. Again, if you're going to post this in a group, you don't want to just post the picture. You want to also type in the comments what you're looking for, because those comments are searchable when you type in what you're looking for. And then this image just solidifies it, or I'll send this image on text. So on my phone, I have a list of agents organized, and I just go through my favorite local Cincinnati agents and I'll send them something. Or if I have a listing coming on, I'll pop that through to some people one-on-one, right? So just having that network, I call it like my agent network of people that I want to give off-market opportunities to, and I want them to give me opportunities to. We've got to keep in contact with them. Doesn't matter if the thing that you need does or doesn't match something that they have. It's also about staying top of mind with those agents that are regularly taking listings in areas that you need properties. You stay top of mind, I guarantee you they will start calling you without you calling them, which is great. All right, so that's off-market properties. Kelly, did you happen to see anything in the comments that was outside of what we talked about, or anything good that we want to bring up?
I think we covered most of it. There was some Instagram story post, for sale by owners on Zillow, past clients. So just good general good word of mouth networking, really, in all formats.
Yep. It's not being a secret agent, right? You can't be a secret agent. You can't, not let people know what you're doing. You got to get out there and you got to tell them what you need help with, right? So doing that will return the help that you need. But if you never ask, you're not going to get it. So I encourage you to do that. Okay, so we're going to move on to winning offers. Anybody interested in a couple tips here? All right, so let's see what we can do. I feel like buying a house is literally a marathon right now because, I've never run a marathon because that's damn near impossible for me. But buying a house is like a marathon because you can't just decide tomorrow that you want to run a marathon and then you go run a marathon, right? You have to train. You have to be prepared. You have to break it down. You have to take it one step at a time, right? So buying a house right now is like running a marathon that you have to train for. And the training is in the consultation and the pre-approval and talking about the appraisal gap and talking about all of these things so that when that house is in front of you, you can win it. But there's so much work to be done before you actually get there. And guess what? Sometimes you have to write 5 and 6 offers until it's accepted. So that's part of the journey and the freaking marathon of buying a house. And sometimes buyers don't believe us when we say you're going to have to waive inspections. You're going to have to write over asking. You're going to have to write it within the first 24 hours. And then they start to realize, oh, they were really serious. This is real. And then they get more and more aggressive, right? So our job is to get them as aggressive as possible, as fast as possible, so that they can win a house. Okay. So probably the first one they run on, they're not going to get, maybe not the second. But here's some great. So the goal of writing a winning offer is to demonstrate to the listing agents and the sellers that you're a reasonable buyer who is capable and motivated to close on time. Okay, reasonable. There's a lot of clues in offers that tell me that people are whack jobs, right? So be aware, trust your gut with what you're seeing and what you're feeling on this, okay? So here are some ideas. Include the pre-approval with the offer and make sure it has the max purchase value in the letter, okay? Now, I'm going to say this again. This is not what we used to do 3 years ago, okay? But this is what we need to do today to get offers accepted, okay? Just is what it is. There are worse things we could be asking them to do. All right. Local bank pre-approval to include verification of income and credit or proof of liquid funds. Okay. Some lenders may or may not be willing to write that extra verbiage in there. Don't work with the lenders that aren't. What's next? Come on. If they have more than one pre-approval, include multiple pre-approvals. I wouldn't necessarily encourage too many pre-approvals because it's a credit pool. But if they've already got a Quicken pre-approval and they now get your local lender pre-approval, put both of them in there, right? Probably what that's going to do is get the listing agent to say, we'll only accept your offer if you use a local lender, and then it'll kick out the other one. All right. A few more. Keep the contract as clean as possible. Write nothing extra in at all. First of all, here's a tip. Don't handwrite anything. Everything should be done on online signing. I got 6 offers on a listing over the weekend. 2 of them were handwritten. They were also the last ones to come in. Something tells me they weren't like really in the system very well. So keep the contract as clean as possible. What I mean by that, do not write anything extra in about inspections or repairs, right? Some people just feel obligated to double write in. It's the repairs will be approved by the buyer or whatever. Like, no, that's already in the language of the contract, right? Do not write anything in extra about the appraisal. There's a whole section about the appraisal. Read that. You don't need to write anything in extra about that. It's all covered by the attorneys that wrote the contracts, right? Do not request any personal items. You do not want to be fighting over a stupid TV bracket when another offer comes in that's better than yours and they take it, right? Leave nothing to chance, nothing. Make the offer acceptable. Make it so that they can accept it. They don't have to counter anything, right? As much as possible. In the chat, what was something you did with an offer that helped you win? Tell us some of your tips so that we can collaborate a little bit. So before you sit down with a buyer and make an offer, because remember, when they're sitting down to make an offer, they're emotional. Their emotions are at a height, right? They're worried they're going to lose the property. Are they going to pay too much? What are they going to do about inspections? Blah, 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 blah. All of that kind of stuff. So before you sit down and make an offer, you need to have some next level conversations about writing an offer. Okay. Not always is that done during the consultation. Sometimes it's the next conversation when they're ready to write an offer. But what you need to do, and we're not going to go over these today, we go over these in the full-on course, but you need to talk to them about what is an appraisal gap, how does it work, do you want to do it, how much do you want to do, and frankly, do you have proof of funds for that amount of money for the appraisal gap? Because I'm seeing some places don't actually have the appraisal gap money. Talk about rent back. You know, right now, a lot of the sellers are asking for, an extra month or 2. What does that look like? Are you okay with that? Here's a lease example that you can use. We use our local board occupancy agreement. So what does that look like? Inspections. Be prepared for, are you going to do inspections? Are you going to do them for information? Are you going to waive them and then do them after you buy the property? What does that look like? Escalation clause and highest offer. So we are no longer doing escalation clauses in our business. I would highly recommend maybe you guys skipping that too. The last 3 years, we've won tons on escalation clauses. That was like our trick to get offers accepted. That's not reasonable anymore. And frankly, part of the reason is because it's, when you write an offer, you're trying to make your buyer look good, reasonable, and able to buy, right? So we want them to look in the best light possible. I feel like writing an escalation clause is them saying, I'm willing to pay 250, but I might pay 275, but only if I have to. And if I really don't have to, I'm not going to do that. And so there's like a lot of teeter-tottering with an escalation clause that takes extra time, and nobody wants to go back and say, okay, now everybody submit their best and highest or whatever. And nobody wants to, like, somebody that's getting 15 offers doesn't want to have to like try to do the math and be like, oh, and we'll go 5,000 over the next highest offer. And then you're trying to like figure out what all that is. No, like that's why they don't want to do a escalation clause. And in the class that we teach, we talk about how we guide that buyer to identify, define, and say out loud what their highest price would be, so that when they make that offer, they know that they've given their best shot. And if they don't get it, well, they gave their best shot, right? And instead of using that escalation clause, we encourage them to write the highest offer. What I'm seeing right now is the people that literally throw money at it and write as high as they can are the ones getting the house. And guess what? They don't throw money at it and write the highest they can until they've been frustrated time and time and time again by not getting other properties. Okay. So it's a factor of time, patience, and really just constantly guiding them to the right level and the right expectations and the right terms that will get those offers accepted. Kelly, what did you see in the chat that was good that people are doing for winning in multiple offers?
There's actually a lot of really good stuff here in the chat. Let me scroll back just a little bit. So a lot of the stuff is stuff that you mentioned, but let's see here. As is, waiving inspections, having a great relationship with agents, and you'll gain that through some of those phone calls with the agents, speaking to them every couple of weeks, checking in on deals. So that's a great way to be in touch with agents. Increasing earnest money deposits, flexible close date with free lease back. We recently had to offer that and it worked out. Let's see. No inspections is kind of if you've taken Amy's listing course and your home is pre-inspected, I can definitely see that as an advantage where a buyer would be content with that inspection. So that's kind of nice when it has an inspection on it already. Other than that, it's hard to recommend that to a normal residential buyer. Let's see, being flexible on the closing date, non-refundable earnest money. That's interesting. Let's see. That covers most.
Yeah, it looks like everybody's saying they're not doing escalation clauses anymore, which is a good thing. Highest and best up front.
I've personally seen escalation clauses fail so many times as on the listing side. I'll see them come in and I'll see what their top number is. And if they had just offered their top number, they would have won it. But their $1,000 or even $4,000 gap just wasn't enough to outweigh the cash buyer that's paying as is. So it's just not your best offer, period. Yeah. You're trying to save $5,000 and you're not going to get the house. So it's just not worth that anymore, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like Pat said in the chat, she's still doing some escalation clauses. Sometimes these things work, sometimes they don't. But all in all, I think we're always in our best interest to write the highest and best offer out of the gate. Maybe somebody's not comfortable.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
With the very first offer that they ever write, but they warm up to it once they start losing a couple and they're like, okay, I get it now. They're not going to come back for more. So I better put that up front. And believe it or not, guys, I'm so glad that you guys are all on this call because like I said, I listed a property this weekend, had 6 offers. And one of the ladies was like, hey, here's our offer. Let us know if you get into multiples and need highest and best. And I was like, I would expect you to always offer highest and best. So guess what? We didn't even go back to that one, because that would have been another exchange that would take too long. And we had far greater offers, right? Same thing with, and guys, I hope you're all using online signature or online signing, but handwriting offers is literally going to lose you deals every time, because you cannot process them fast enough if you're handwriting things. And like I got 2 handwritten offers this weekend. They take longer. You got to put them back in the system and all that. So make sure you're using online signing. Who is this?
Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil. A lot of psychology going on right now. A lot of therapy needed right now. Would you guys agree? Have any of you guys had to go to therapy because of the real estate market as a real estate agent? Like, seriously, guys, this is no joke about rejection and about like just trying your best and still not getting it. Like, that happens. And so we have to temper our own emotions as their agent, right? And we generally can do that pretty well. If we can't, we probably shouldn't be selling real estate, but it's hard on us. So it's always good to have a friend to vent to that's also in real estate instead of, like your client, because it's really hard right now. It's never been so hard. And then we have to turn around, and after we look our own wounds, we have to help our buyers through this, because it's brutal. It's frustrating. It's hard. They're doing everything they can and it's not getting accepted. So if you do have somebody in the situation, if you feel like they're losing hope, you feel like they're losing faith, what Dr. Phil would say, oops, come on, Dr. Phil. Admit that this market sucks. Okay? Just put it out there. I know it sucks. It's terrible. It's frustrating. It's going to take time. We've got to, stay vigilant with it, right? Admit that it sucks. Don't be falsely positive about everything that's not actually positive all the time. But also don't be terribly negative, right? Like, you gotta keep that, but you gotta be realistic about it. Yeah, it sucks. Man, it sucks you didn't get that house. Take a break, right? Maybe they just need to take a break. Maybe they need to take a week break or a month break. And you tell them, I'll keep an eye on the listings for you. If anything comes up, I'll definitely get you if we need to. But let's take a break. It's not fight hard every day. Just take a little break. I myself am on a Facebook break. So, sometimes you need to take a break from the factors. I mean, could you imagine if you're a buyer and your friend is also buying a house and they get under contract and they're posting about, I got a house. Like, I'd want to maybe give them a little shot in the face. You never know, but you don't need to see that all the time. Maybe you need to take a break, especially if you're a little emotional. And then maybe you need to hit pause for a little bit. Maybe it's a week, maybe it's a month, maybe it's, until things get a little easier. And like I said earlier in the call, we have had people hit pause and they have come back and bought houses. Almost all of them come back. When you're honest with them up front, you tell them what the market is and that you will get back to them. You'll keep them on the search. You'll keep them, that kind of thing. It will happen. All that, tons of stuff in the comments, which I'm going to pull out. Thank you so much for putting your comments in. Feel free to keep putting your comments in. Share your ideas. I'm going to be doing more of this free training. I initially planned to do this training for just my EXP family. And then I said, there's tons of agents that need this help. So I'm going to do an hour training for anybody that wants to join. And I'm also giving my Ultimate Buyer Loyalty Process course to my EXP family. And I'm opening it up a live course to anybody else that wants to do it too. So if you're interested in getting this bottom part here with all the extra tools and training and documents and information, we've got all that in the class. It's 6 weeks. It's 90 minutes a week. We deep dive into all the aspects of having this buyer system put together so you can be efficient. And then this 2022 tells you that it's based on insanity market. So if you've taken the course before, we're leveling it up for the insanity market, right? We're giving you the tools that you need to deal with multiple offers and compete and find off market properties and all of that in this course as well. So reach out if you want to take the course or if you want more information. Get your bonus items, okay? Remember all those little images that I sent you guys? Whoever invited you here is going to have the bonus items to give you. So reach out to them for the bonus item. If you have any questions, reach out to me. Facebook Messenger is a great place to get me. Most of us connected on Facebook. You can also email me, and or you can get with the person that invited you if it was somebody besides me and ask questions there. We'll get you information that you need. And just, you know, as a consideration, as much stuff as I shared with you today, there's 13 times more of it in the course to help you put your systems and training, you know, your everything in place so that you can make it a little bit easier on the buyers, a little bit easier on yourself. We also talk about like the concept of having a showing assistant, getting the buyer's agreement signed. We go into, you know, how to look through those posts on Facebook. So thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it. If anybody has any, you know, questions they want to unmute at this point, I just wanted to get through as much content as possible to give you guys as much information, but feel free to unmute yourself, ask any questions. Kelly, was there anything in the questions that you felt like we needed to address as you were reading through?
No, it was good. I think the only thing I wanted to add is just, if you have never taken one of Amy's courses, they are the most in-depth, like on a silver platter, here's the actual paper to hand to your client done for you. And I haven't taken any other I take a lot of real estate classes and marketing classes, and I've never taken any classes that have been so silver platter, like technical deep dives with videos. You can watch examples of how you speak with the clients, and here's the actual papers to hand the clients. It's just such an easy process to put right into place in your own business. So I would definitely highly recommend those of you that are considering it, that you reach out and get some more information and join us.
I am glad to have seen you. I would love to hear your success stories based on using anything we've taught you, because that just fills my bucket. That makes me feel like this was all worth it and that you have succeeded based on something that we shared. So please feel free to reach out, tell us your successes. And I'm super excited to take you guys that want to take this to the next level, down that rabbit hole of how to, you know, fine tune your buyer process and really get your systems in place there. So thanks, guys.